Okay, so I want you to mentally zoom in on a very specific quiet moment of panic.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you see an email notification pop up at like 7:30 p.m. on a Friday.
Oh, yeah.
Or a friend calls needing this massive emotional favor and you're already just running on fumes.
Right.
And that familiar sinking feeling hits you, you should say no, but the automatic sort of guilt-tinged yes just tumbles out instead.
That feeling,
Yeah.
that quiet dread that immediately morphs into resentment right after you hang up the phone.
Exactly.
That's where the high price of inadequate boundaries really starts. And we're not talking about, minor stress here.
No, this is bigger.
We are talking about chronic, sustained psychological distress,
Yeah.
burnout, emotional exhaustion, all of it.
Mhm.
All because we haven't defined our own property lines clearly enough.
Okay, let's unpack that.
Yeah.
Because our sources today, which pull from, well, a ton of clinical psychology and therapeutic insights, they offer a really crucial reframing of this.
They do.
We're not talking about building defensive walls.
No, not at all.
We are talking about designing defined property lines that clarify exactly where you end and where someone else begins.
Think of it less as a defense mechanism and more like an operating manual.
An operating manual. I like that.
Yeah. Boundaries set expectations, they define ownership, and they are the fundamental tool for managing your own stress regulation. Our mission here is to move you from a place of just passive reaction and, emotional overextension
To what?
to a state of what the therapeutic world calls emotional sovereignty.
Emotional sovereign. Okay, I love that phrasing. But what does it actually mean in plain English for someone just trying to juggle work and family?
It means you are the ruler of your own emotional state. It means others do not get to dictate your feelings, your availability, or your energy reserves without your consent.
It's about being in control.
It's about being in control of your yeses and your nos.
And that is our mission today. To give you the exact framework, we're going to talk about the SAFE method and the specific scripts you need to confidently assert your needs and claim that sovereignty without feeling like you have to apologize for protecting your own peace. So, before we can even get to the how, we have to start with a bit of self-diagnosis. You need to know where you stand on what we're calling the boundary spectrum. The sources identify three main types. So as we go through these, I want you, the listener, to ask yourself, which one is my default setting?
Identifying your natural tendency is the absolute most critical first step. It really is. Let's start with rigid boundaries. If you lean this way, your boundaries function like an emotional fortress.
So you're protected, but
You're protected, yes, but you're also completely isolated.
what does that look like in daily life?
It's the person who consistently keeps everyone at arm's length. They're reluctant to share feelings. They might refuse to accept help even when they're, desperately struggling.
Or just turning down every social invitation.
Every single one. And the deep insight here is that this kind of protection, it always comes at the cost of connection. You're safe, but you're also stuck.
That's a really powerful distinction. You're protecting yourself from pain, but you're also blocking out intimacy, support.
Precisely. Now, on the complete opposite end of the spectrum, we have the state most people are probably familiar with, porous boundaries.
The people pleaser default.
That's the one. Your limits are permeable, and you feel constantly overwhelmed because everything just seeps in.
I can feel the anxiety just hearing that phrase. What are the telltale signs?
Finding it almost impossible to say no. Agreeing to help a friend move over a long weekend when your body's just screaming for rest.
Oh, that's a classic.
Or regularly putting others' needs first at your own expense, even to the point of self-sabotage. Another common one is oversharing really personal details way too early. You're basically handing out emotional access to people who haven't earned it.
It sounds like the motivation isn't malice, it's just fear.
It's absolutely fear. Fear that saying no will lead to some kind of conflict or rejection.
Right.
It stems from this internalized message that your value is somehow tied to your usefulness or your compliance. Which brings us to the goal, the therapeutic sweet spot we're all aiming for.
Which is?
Healthy boundaries.
And those are the flexible ones.
They are. Healthy boundaries are firm enough to protect your self-respect and your fundamental needs, but they're flexible enough to allow for deep, meaningful relationships and genuine vulnerability.
So they're adaptive.
They're adaptive. They allow for clear communication that, in the end, benefits everyone involved.
So instead of rigidly shutting down a request or, porously saying yes to something you hate.
Hmm.
You can just clearly communicate. Like
Yeah.
to a family member, you might say, I love seeing you, but unexpected visits really put me behind schedule. Could you please just call ahead next time?
That's a perfect example. That is a healthy boundary in action.
Yeah.
It shifts the entire dynamic from this reactive obligation to one of mutual respect and clear expectation setting.
Okay, so we've identified the type of boundary we might have, but boundaries aren't just about saying no to favors. If they're property lines, we need to identify the different terrains we need to fence off.
Yeah.
And the research breaks this down into what they call the 6 pillars of self-sovereignty.
And this is where we define what is yours and what is theirs. This process, which I kind of think of as psychological accounting, is the foundation of any kind of sustainable relational calm.
Because if you don't define what belongs to you,
Others will happily claim it.
let's start with the one that probably causes the most silent pain: emotional boundaries. How do we define and protect that space?
Okay, so emotional boundaries protect your internal well-being. They define your comfort levels with sharing feelings, and critically, they prevent emotional dumping.
Emotional dumping.
A healthy emotional boundary stops others from unjustly blaming you for their feelings or, making their massive anxiety your emergency.
I think we've all been on the receiving end of an intense, unsolicited emotional dump from a friend or a colleague. How do you tactfully put up a boundary there without sounding, cold?
Well, you could use a boundary script, something like, I hear that you're going through a lot and I want to support you, but I don't have the emotional capacity to take this on right now.
So you're not rejecting them, you're just stating your own limit.
Exactly. You can even add, can we talk about this tomorrow, or would you like me to help you find a different resource? You're setting a limit on when and how much you engage. You're defining your emotional availability.
That brings us perfectly to the next pillar, the one that I think dominates modern life: time boundaries. Because with Slack and email and our phones, work boundaries have practically just evaporated.
Time boundaries protect your most finite resource.
Mm.
Full stop. They prevent that toxic state of overcommitment and burnout that is so pervasive in the digital age. This isn't just about declining an invitation. It's about defining your digital availability.
So, setting a boundary that you won't respond to Slack messages after 6 p.m., even if the notification is buzzing away.
Absolutely. The blurring of workplace and personal time is one of the most critical boundary violations today. If you allow work to have access to you 24/7, you're signaling that your personal time is less valuable than someone else's immediate convenience.
You're setting a standard.
You're defining your professional self-respect.
And then just quickly touching on the others, we have physical boundaries, which is touch, space, rest. Material boundaries.
Property, finances, lending things.
Right. Sexual boundaries, which covers consent and intimacy needs. And then workplace boundaries for capacity and focus. But the core insight is the same for all of them.
It is. They separate your needs, your thoughts, and your feelings from those of others. And that autonomy, that clarity, it's non-negotiable for long-term mental health.
Okay, that groundwork is so essential. But here's the hard part: the execution.
Mm-hmm.
We know what boundaries are and where they belong. But when that request hits, the words still catch in your throat. We need a clear, actionable communication process. And that brings us to the core structure we mentioned, the SAFE method.
This method provides the 4 tactical steps for confident assertion, and they flow seamlessly into the hacks that help combat that people-pleaser reflex.
Okay, so the S is for specify your boundary clearly.
The clarity imperative.
And this is where the biggest internal barrier usually lies, right? We feel this vague discomfort, but we haven't actually defined what we want.
You can't communicate a limit you haven't identified for yourself. This is why resentment is your most reliable diagnostic tool.
That's a great point.
That frustration, that feeling of being used or unappreciated, that is a screening signal that a boundary is absent or is consistently being violated.
So we need to translate that vague discomfort, like I feel emotionally crowded by my neighbor, into a clear, observable, concrete limit.
Exactly.
Give us a real script example.
Okay, if the issue is privacy, the script is, I'd prefer to keep certain details about my life private unless I choose to share them myself. It's an assertion of ownership over your personal information.
And for a work time boundary?
It's, I'm available until 5 p.m. each day. Any messages I get after that will be addressed when I'm back on the clock. Clear. Simple.
Okay, next, A is for assert yourself confidently. And as we mentioned, assertiveness is not aggression. It's calm, respectful communication of a need.
And the delivery here matters hugely. Our sources stress the 3 C's. Deliver the message with calmness, So an objective statement, clarity,
Firm, unambiguous language.
right, and confidence, no hesitation.
But the toughest hack under this A is the non-apology rule. Why is it so hard for us to avoid starting a boundary with, I'm so sorry, but...
Because we've been conditioned to believe that having a need is an imposition on other people. But when you apologize, you signal that the limit is tentative. It's negotiable.
You're inviting them to push back.
You are inviting manipulation.
Hmm.
Instead, you have to use the I statement, which focuses on your internal experience and your needs, not the other person's behavior.
So instead of, I'm sorry, but I guess I can't come because I'm so exhausted, what's the confident non-apology script?
I appreciate the invitation, but I need to decline. I'm prioritizing rest this weekend and cannot take on any new commitments. It's firm, it's respectful, and it uses zero justifying language.
Moving to F, fairness, ensures mutual respect. So this is about recognizing that healthy boundaries honor both your needs and the other person's perspective.
It is. And the key hack here is implementing the strategic pause.
Okay, explain that.
That automatic yes that just flies out of your mouth. It needs a buffer. The strategic pause is the moment you insert space between the request and your response.
It buys you time.
It buys you time to mentally run the SAFE method and prepare an assertive script.
So instead of reacting, you use tactics like, that sounds interesting, but I'll need to check my calendar and I'll get back to you by the end of the day.
Or, I need a few minutes to think about how I can best help.
Exactly. Another crucial hack is framing the boundary as a fixed policy.
How does that work?
It's just much easier to enforce a rule than it is a justification. Saying, I have a personal policy of not discussing my financial earnings with friends. It removes the obligation to explain why you're uncomfortable. The policy is the reason.
I'm curious about the nuance of no. We all love that simple phrase, no is a complete sentence. But if it's a valued relationship, sometimes a hard refusal can cause unnecessary friction.
And that's where the reverse Jedi mind trick comes in.
Okay.
If you genuinely value the person, offering an alternative prevents the boundary from feeling like a total rejection. You can say, I can't spend all weekend moving, but I could definitely come over for an hour on Saturday morning to help with the heaviest boxes.
So you've said no to the exhausting request, but you're still saying yes to the relationship.
Precisely.
Finally, E is for enforce your boundaries consistently. This is huge. If you state a boundary without consequences, it just remains a wish. And that leads directly to the inconsistency trap.
Right.
Consistency is everything. If you let someone violate the boundary 3 times before you finally react, you've just taught them that they only need to push 3 times harder next time.
And the consequences have to be what?
They have to be clear, reasonable, and proportional. And this is key. They are strictly for self-protection, not punishment.
So the goal isn't to hurt the other person.
No. It's to remove yourself from the suffering the boundary violation is causing.
Okay. Give us an example of a consequence contract in action.
Let's take the habitually late friend. The boundary is communicated first. When we made plans, I expect us to start close to the agreed-upon time. Then the consequence contract. The next time you don't let me know you're running late, I will wait 15 minutes, and then I'm leaving the restaurant.
And then you have to actually do it.
Then you enforce it.
Yeah.
You leave. You preserve your time and self-respect rather than sitting there just stewing in resentment.
That takes a lot of nerve, but the research suggests that inconsistency is what destroys boundaries in the first place.
It does. And in more severe cases, where safety is concerned, like dealing with addiction, the consequences have to be non-negotiable.
Okay.
You may not use or be intoxicated around me. If you do, I will immediately leave the premises.
The integrity of the boundary is tied directly to your willingness to implement the consequence.
100%.
We've established the framework, but we have to address the elephant in the room. The internal battle that sabotages all this hard work.
The guilt shield.
The guilt shield, yes.
Yeah, this is the final frontier. Setting a healthy boundary will introduce temporary discomfort, guilt, shame, fear of rejection. Especially if you grew up internalizing messages that expressing your needs is selfish or demanding.
It sounds like the pain of setting the boundary is immediate, but the relief is delayed, which makes us revert back to the comfort of people-pleasing.
Exactly. But the sources are crystal clear on this. The temporary discomfort of guilt is a minor, fleeting price compared to the chronic psychological distress, the deep resentment, the anxiety, the eventual burnout of ongoing boundary violations.
So you're making a trade.
You're making a trade. Short-term discomfort for long-term emotional sovereignty.
And what do we do about that feeling that we are somehow responsible for the other person's reaction? That we should cushion their feelings about our needs?
We have to release that emotional responsibility. You are responsible for communicating the boundary respectfully and clearly. That's it. You are not responsible for the other person's emotional reaction to it.
So if someone tries a guilt trip,
They are using manipulation to try and convince you to surrender your needs. Plain and simple.
that is often the most difficult lesson to learn. That their discomfort is not a sign that you did something wrong.
No. In fact, that resistance is actually a reliable relationship litmus test. Healthy relationships adjust to boundaries. They find new, respectful ways to interact.
And unhealthy ones.
Unhealthy relationships attempt to dismantle them. Pushback doesn't mean you're wrong. It means the relationship is being tested.
To help combat that immediate emotional reactivity, especially when you're faced with manipulation, the material suggests a couple of great cognitive restructuring techniques. I love the objective observer technique.
It's a great one. It involves gaining emotional distance. You just imagine a neutral third party, a psychologist, maybe watching the interaction unfold, and you ask yourself, what would they call this behavior?
So that objective lens helps you step out of the emotional trap and recognize the manipulation tactics in real time.
It does. And the compassionate friend test is equally simple and powerful.
Right.
You just ask yourself what a kind, reasonable friend would advise you to do in this situation. This external validation helps you reinforce the fact that the action you're taking, the boundary you're setting, is healthy and reasonable, not selfish.
What a fantastic deep dive into reclaiming that space. We've moved from the idea of boundaries as just walls to seeing them as essential architecture for a balanced life.
That's a great way to put it.
We covered the three boundary types, rigid, porous, and healthy, the six critical pillars of sovereignty, and that powerful four-step SAFE method for communication.
And if there's one realization to take away from all this, it is this. Setting boundaries is not merely about saying no to others. It is fundamentally about saying yes to yourself.
Yes to more energy.
Yes to less resentment, and yes to relationships that are truly balanced and deeply fulfilling.
So here is the challenge we'll leave you with. Identify one area where you struggle the most. Maybe it's a time boundary at work or an emotional drain from a specific interaction, and just practice one specific script this week. Start small.
Mm-hmm.
That initial discomfort of growth, it might feel awkward, even selfish at first, but with consistency, it won't feel like a battle anymore. It will just feel like profound relief. Go set those healthy boundaries and take care of you.